every community has got some sort of law that applies to it. So we are going to take you through the law, and your community is the paralegal community. What kind of laws would generally apply in your space? Apply the knowledge and understanding of the relevant laws to address queries when somebody walks into the office and say, I have a problem. Whether you're operating as an independent paralegal, running your own office, or you're working at a law firm, and somebody walks into your office and say, I have a problem, they want a legal solution, and you should be able to provide that person with a legal solution. And to provide a person with a legal solution, you should be able to provide that legal solution because you know what law is applicable and how to actually apply that law. Explain the nature of the sources of South African law. South African law is based on different sources. So if you're a South African, you'd be thinking right now, Jan van Riebeeck arrives at the Cape, 1652. And the law continues. But really, did it start with Jan van Riebeeck? I think it started way before. There should have been some sort of rules that says, you cannot steal my goat, and if you steal my goat, you pay 2 goats. That had nothing to do with Jan van Riebeeck. So it is there. So we need to know these sources. But up until today, and where you steal the goat, the person will go to the police station. They will now put a case. You'll get arrested. Criminal Procedure Act applies. There will be an involvement of those laws. Display a knowledge and understanding of the hierarchy and composition and function of the courts in South Africa. This is important. You need to know what court does what. If somebody owes you 20,000 rands, don't go to the magistrate court. Go to the small claims court. It's free. You don't need a lawyer, and the discussion. We have an axe to grind. So you and I have got issues to deal with that are way more than just 20,000 rands. And you need to understand these different courts and how they handle it. And of course, your 20 million won't even be done at the magistrate court. It will go all the way to the high court. And it's important that you need to understand those processes. Explain the concept of judicial precedence as a source of law and apply it in South African court structure. So you see, the SAPQA unit standard says explain the concept of judicial precedence as a source of law, because it understands that your law or the law in our country is being developed in different ways. We talked about, there was the law that says, if you steal my goat, you need to bring me a goat plus 1. That law is indigenous law. It's law that developed in the community by the grandfathers and the grandmothers. It is still law. It's recognized by the Constitution, as long as that law is not offending to the Constitution. But we said, but today, if you do it, they'll bring the Criminal Procedure Act. That is an act. It's a law written by Parliament and passed in Parliament, and it's law. But if you continue and you look at other things, like somebody murdered somebody, do you really find it being a crime elsewhere? Yes, it's written somewhere in the Criminal Procedure Act, but this is common law. It came up with many years of practice through the British rule into the South African system, and that was that. In any case, thanks to common law, remember the Commonwealth, right? The British group of countries. Now, thanks to common law, you kill someone, you get tried, you go to court, and all of those. And before democracy, you would then hang. But then after democracy, no more hanging. You go hang out. You lock. You don't hang anymore. You hang out. You lock. You get a tattoo. You join a gang. You hang out there. Yes. But then again, imagine before the Constitution, no hang out, hanged. Before they hanged in the old apartheid laws, kill someone. What hanging? They kill you live themselves. They just bring in Dunen and everybody gets a spear and see to finish. So it has been the law of the jungle, but the law of the jungle is evolved to hanging out. We'll discuss that. Discuss the legal philosophy and its mandate on the South African legal system and the practitioner. The legal philosophy, it's one thing that you love to hate when you study LLB, those of you studying LLB. I think at UNISA should be a third year thing or second year thing. It is so traumatizing that I still remember the face of the professor who did it. So if I can dig deep, I could also remember her name. Hey, that auntie. Let's explain this legal philosophy nice and clean. I see adverts, it's a first year thing. That was second year thing. They're doing it now, it's second year. So you see, you need to do it first year. So they traumatized you early. So legal philosophy is where you understand that law is not just law. Law belongs to people and the community. And legal philosophy is a vast area of law. For example, you'd have things like critical legal studies. Critical legal studies will say law is politics. He who runs government runs the law. And you've seen this during the apartheid years, because they were in government and they would say, no blacks in this toilet, and the blacks wouldn't go into the toilet, otherwise they'll break the law. And thank God they also said, no blacks in swimming pools, and our lives were saved. You see, it was not all bad. So to the toilet, yes, we had an issue with that story. So they removed even the process in swimming pools. I think the thing should stand, especially when we are drunk. Yeah. So hey, it's not all bad. Critical legal studies discusses things like that. You see how simply I talk about it? It brings you also to on the concept. When somebody must answer to that complaint. If you look at administrative law today, administrative law is that law of the government that says, I've applied for an ID, I must get an ID. So that administrative law is mainly based on the very same things. It's based on the Ubuntu principle that says, umuntu, ngabantu. A person is a person. I'm trying to translate Xhosa here. The Xhosas raised their hands just now in class and said, no, it's Xhosa asitolikwa. So umuntu ngabantu means a person is a person because of the humanity of others. So if you're going to be a person in society, remember that you belong to a broader community. And that is why in South Africa, when you commit crimes, they don't hang you anymore. They understand that umuntu, and those, if you were going to do LLB or you were doing LLB, you probably, somebody within your first 3 weeks of LLB has told you of the case of Makonyane. So you cannot be hanged anymore. It's the one that brought the hair out. It's Makonyane, that guy. Before Makonyane, everybody was hanged. So the decision maker can, for example, say, I just don't like you, you are too tall and I'm short, so you don't get an ID. No, that decision is not fair. Why should tall people not get IDs and only short people? Such decisions are administrative decisions, and if they are administrative decisions, they ought to be fair. So that is why you see administrative law would speak a lot about fairness. Why are we even speaking about administrative law? Legal philosophy. You can see we are going all philosophical now. So if law, it's not just plain letter of the law. There is the thought around it. There's the thinking around it. The other time we talked about, if you're going to interpret law, you must interpret it directly, the text of it, but you must also interpret the context of it. If you still remember, we say a soccer player who handles the ball in the 18-yard area, that soccer player has committed a penalty. But what if the soccer player is facing the other direction and the hands are behind his back and the ball hits him behind his back with the hands behind his back? It still should be a penalty, but the reality is context. He was not facing the other side. He was not even trying to block the ball. It just happened that the ball hit him, and this is not a penalty. So legal philosophy helps them that law is not just the South African legal system and the practitioner. You need to understand the South African legal system and how the South African legal system affects a legal practitioner. There is a situation where if you're going to sue somebody for owing you, and you go to a lawyer, it's 20,000. If it's 20,000, guys, go and argue out at the small claims court. You bring it to me, it will end in tears. The bill will be more than what they owe you. So in Pretoria, they say, Tswada, don't come to me. But if the situation is 20 million, you come to me, we are not going to talk about you going to court first. We are going to go talk about you issuing a letter of demand and say, dear Mr. Jacobs, can you kindly pay me my money within 7 days? If it's not credit, can you kindly pay my money within 7 days? And if you don't give me my money within 7 days, I want my 20 million rands. And I will instruct my attorneys here to take you to court in the simplistic form. He doesn't pay in 7 days. We now attach the letter of demand, and we show that indeed the guy owes you. We attach other things, and there are different ways to do it. If we can prove immediately, we can summary judgments and all those other things. If we need to debate and argue it out, of course, we have to issue summons and go to court and argue. He stands here, we argue until the court decides. But those processes are processes that go with the system of law. You see, I say you cannot just go and demand 20 million in court without even a letter of demand cautioning the other guy. Our civil procedure requires it. Especially if it's credit, you must even give him 20 days. So, because of the Consumer Protection Act and all of those things. So it's important for you to understand that the legal system affects how things work. Demonstrating insight into the principles of democracy. You're a South African, you understand democracy. And I think the concept of democracy to a South African has got to do with, if it's not democracy, it is apartheid. So it's either or. So it's chicken or egg situation. I vote or I don't go to the toilet. Swimming, it's okay. I put my feet only in that thing anyway. So don't swim. So the democracy process has got a lot to do to a South African with freedom. That is why the most popular part of democracy in our country is your rights. And Section 2 of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, is the most popular, probably the most legal document ever taken to court. You go to court today, the son once said until somebody said, but my client has got a right to, if it's criminal court, my client has got a right to legal representation, has got a right, everything spans around that right. But interestingly, we sometimes forget that the right is also followed by a responsibility. You've got a right, but you also have a responsibility. That is why classroom should now not only teach you that your client has got a right, classroom must also teach you that your client has a responsibility. Hey, guys online, we're about to finish. I can see you standing and this guy, is he really going to read all these things? Wait, you're about to get a cup of coffee, not long. We are with you. If this was KZN, we'll say, Sugpad, Sugpad. We are with you. We'll sort you out now. You get a cup of coffee. Let's go to another concept we need to explain. Family law and divorce. If you're a paralegal, you're going to have to do a lot of administration work around family law and divorce. Interestingly, law in South Africa goes according to the pocket. If the legal practice you're working with, it's in rural communities, you're going to see that the law firm will deal a lot with criminal cases. It will deal probably with road accident funds. Then it will deal with family law and divorce matters. And the clients will probably be the nurse, the teacher, and the government employees, not Ubabos Bia down the road. Ubabos Bia, what divorce? He's not going to come to you and pay 25,000 deposit to listen to it. What? No, I'm not going to talk my family issues with a boy in that office. That's not gonna happen. But if your practice is in big cities, in Pretoria, you're also going to see a lot of divorce cases coming through and family law cases coming through. If you live in Sandton and all those spaces, the practices will be more commercial. You're going to see contract things and all of those. If your practice is around main lane, you're likely to see people coming and bring the contractual disputes and things. And if you don't know, hey, guys online, money and go a little bit down to Jugu Lane, you know. Such a goof. Yeah. So you Google such a goof, you'll see it's the Jugu Lane, a little bit down. There's money, but money is the other way around there. It's in real cash. And the issues there are very different from what the issues would be if you were in Pretoria Central. Even in Sunnyside, the issues in Sunnyside are very different from issues in Fairyclare and Silver Lakes. Family law becomes a very big part. I wanted to say, if you're studying LLB, your biggest frequency in a court would be on family law. Divorce makes a very good case study on how to litigate because it's soft. I usually say it's soft law. It's hostile, but it's not hostile. It's got a lot of paperwork, takes you to different places. You draft summons, you negotiate, you get settlement agreements, you calm people down, you get the money into the trust, you pay. If they've got a property, it will also take you into property law. It will take you into buying that house. Another one buys the half share of the house. The other one just sells the house. Then you need to meet a conveyancer and all those things. So a divorce case gives you almost hybrid element. If they've got businesses, you have to see how those businesses are shared. Then it brings you into the CIPC, how they must change names of the businesses. If they've got children, it takes you deep into the education law. The child now moves from Pretoria to Joburg. When you arrive in Joburg, they say, no, the child can't come in the middle of the day. You say, no, the child has got a right to study and all of those things. Divorce gives you at least a bigger and a round appreciation of the law that involves a human being and their situation. Then again, this labor law, that's also one of the things you will see in most of our practices because unemployment, it's a problem in South Africa. But labor law comes to us in twofold. You're going to find you don't get lots of labor cases that come from individuals. You ask me, but why? Because South Africa is more unionized. So instead of coming to your legal practice, people will go to their union. I've been through this and I go to the CCMA and the union is here. They say, I put Klala, it's our case. and then they don't get an assembly. Say, can we stop for a while? We want booty. Also explain, what are they talking about here? So that's the situation. You'll get yourself a union. They're dealing with a lot of labor cases. So, and again, people who get fired a lot in South Africa are people in lower. Please write down this concept. It's called Living Standard Measure, LSM. You'll hear me talk about it a lot, and Google it when you're done. The Living Standard Measure is the process that tells who does what when. Colleague, mute yourself. Okay, you are now on mute. We continue. So the Living Standard Measure tells you who is who. For example, a person on Living Standard Measure 1 should not have DSTV. If they've got DSTV, we bump up the Living Standard Measure. They should probably at 3. A person at Living Standard Measure 6 should have 2 TVs. At Living Standard Measure 6 and 7, you don't have 2 TVs, you'll have a problem. I'm telling you. Your wife wants to watch the Housewives of what. And then when you want to watch Sundowns, how are you going to survive this situation? At the Living Standard Measure, you need 2 TVs, brah. So that you can watch soccer the other side, she can watch the Housewives. Otherwise, get dual stream. So you can see these people are not the same. A person at the Living Standard Measure 1 is not worried about the Housewives. But the person at Living Standard Measure 5, 6, and 7, they've got too much leisure. So that's what they can see the whole day and watch the Housewives and all those other things they watch. And they watch soccer, and from soccer, the wives also tend to say, yeah, not only the wives watch the Housewives show, there's also the husbands. They watch cricket test series. It's a whole 5 days of throwing a ball in white clothes. So we go through that process. We watch those things, and hey, the wives have to suffer that watching. So you see, they need a TV. So you see the kind of hobbies this. A person in Living Standard Measure 1 to 3 will not really watch cricket, let alone test cricket. No way. It's a painful thing that requires ice and other things. so, so then the person in Living Standard Measure 6, 7, and all should have a fridge that can have an ice dispenser, right? Because that ice must be very frequent. So the other one, the fridge could only make ice in a tray, and then it will be finished before the test match is done. So you can see these Living Standard Measures are the same. Why am I talking to you about Living Standard Measures then? Living Standard Measures bring you to property law. When you're at Living Standard Measure 1, your property things are not really property law things unless somebody evicts you. And really, you're not a pure straight out property law, are you? If you want to sell mkuku, it's very easy. We meet 25,000, right? Shake hands, hamba. God. It's Shashanguveni, they say, Shombe. Gone. It's your mkuku now. If you paint it, you can sell it for 30. So you see, it's not complicated property law here. But the moment you remember the 20,000 people, they would have to sell their double-story house. Conveyance are required. And that's where you at law firms, you will see conveyancing either coming in its full force. If you're the law firm you work for, they do conveyancing. You'll see it in full force. You will see offer to purchase. You'll see all those things coming around into the law firm. If they don't do it full force, you'll see your client coming and giving an instruction. You'll see your boss saying, take this instruction to another law firm. I will associate the conveyancer to assist with these. The associate, the conveyancer will say, yes, but bring me the documents and all this so that I can draft the offer to purchase. So you'll be dealing with these things. If you are dealing at living standard measure, probably 3 to 6. Because now, for example, at 3, you want to sell your RDP house. Yeah, you need a conveyancer. Not going to happen that you'll take 20,000 rands like when I sold my Mpuku, you see in Block R, Soshanguvi. No, for you to sell it, you need a conveyancer. Wilson Estate, the fun of life. Wilson Estates gives you a chance to look at a discussion that says, what happens when a person dies? And when we do Wilson Estates, you're going to see me go into detail because Wilson Estates is work of a lawyer that is generally non-litigious. It doesn't really go to court, but it goes to the office of the master. But you as a paralegal, you actually can do the whole from the bottom to the end because the will is not the will of the lawyer. It's the will of the client, what the client wants. The lawyers get a lot of involved when these wills are disputed and all of that. But to take it through the mill, get the will drafted and all of that, sometimes you don't even have to draft it. Clients bring this will after they download it from a website or from the bank. Simply go to their bank on that banking app. Try it on FNB if you've got FNB banking. I use FNB, so I'm biased. I don't know. If you use another bank, go to another bank. Maybe they have a will. But FNB, they have it. You go to the app, you will find create a will. I don't know. Tell me tomorrow or here on the chat group if your bank has it. And they say, Mr. Pan. Ukhuluma njani nge-Capitec? They should have, I think. Check umtshele. Capitec has, if they have. How about Standard Bank? If you're on Standard Bank, do they have? I think they should have something like that. I have an account with Standard Bank. I visit sometimes. That account is like a cousin's house. You go there sometimes. So check also. But you will see that ABSA has, I've seen clients who brought the ABSA wheel. Clients will bring a will that is already drafted. So you need to file it, keep safe in the event they die and all of those. Or the client has died and the wife or the children bring a will. That's where the lawyer now gets involved to interpret whether this will is valid, whether this will was actually registered with the master and all those kind of things. Then you've got estates. Well, if you're from the suburb, when you think estates, you're thinking a place with a gate and a security and the uncle who says, let's say dealer. They scanned it. And then they give you a paper and then you press a number and you walk in. No, not that estate. Estates, we are talking about what a person owns in general, everything. It includes that very place where you walk in and yeah. But it's the property of a person. It should actually have been covered all in wills. And perhaps they should have simply left this discussion to be estates. But it helps to understand these estates could be that a person has a will and a person doesn't have a will. And when they have a will, we deal with their properties, with their estate a certain way. When they don't have a will, we deal with their estate a certain way. And in all fairness, you have 10 minutes. Stretch your feet. I don't know if you are allowed to smoke. Are you allowed to smoke? Okay, fine. Go and smoke. If you smoke, make sure that everything you smoke is brown. Do not smoke anything like a cabbage or anything green. Do not smoke. Right? You are in class. Don't smoke green stuff. Don't tell me it's for medical reasons. No. Just don't smoke cabbage is another thing. Spinach, no. It's brown, right? Brown rice, yeah. Those things. Smoke. Come back. What at you 10, we say? We should be able to continue. I'm going to take a small break myself. I don't smoke, so I'll have to find something that is not green to also enjoy. All right, guys, take a bit of break, stretch your feet. I'm going to mute the microphone for now and leave everything just on. Are you guys back? You can unmute your microphones. Let's start with Katleho. Unmute your microphone and say something. You can.
I am here. I'm still here. I've been here.
Yes, we are back online.
Katleho. Katleho is not back. Akona, are you here?
I
You can
am back.
unmute and then you talk.
Katlo, I'm back. I'm here.
Katleho, you're back.
Yes.
Did you find anything to smoke which was the right color?
I don't smoke. I drank a glass of wine.
No problem. Guys, up to so far, anybody with a question, you can unmute yourself and ask a question over the things we were discussing thus far. Anyone, you can just go and unmute and talk like you were just in class. Akona, I can see your hand is still up. Nokwazi, if you want to say something. Otherwise, you guys are saying, hey, we are happy with the concepts and we understand them. We can move right along. So we're good to go.
Yes, we're good to go.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So we have done concepts. And this led us now to study unit 1. In study unit 1, before we even go deep into the study unit, we'll actually look at these legal concepts we need to. That is why in my tongue, there's the word concepts. We need to look at these concepts that we need to deal with. It should be on page 3. In class, if you're looking at the paper thing, you're looking at page 3. If you are online, I've just scrolled on it there. The following key concepts are important in understanding the learning outcome, but they also are important in understanding the module in general. So these concepts are the legal subject. Well, we are not saying the subject as in maths and science, you know. We mean subject as in if you are writing the sentence. Isn't it the sentence will have a subject, a verb, and an object? You get that story, right? Now, the subject would also be the person who is doing something. Object, it will be the thing that the thing is being done to. But if you're a legal subject, that's anyone who is subject to the norms of the law and who may also be the bearer of the rights. So it's anyone, any person is subject to the law. Let's get away with it. Let's lay that story down. Done. All human beings are subject to the law, and all human beings must obey the law of the land. But when we say persons in law, we are not really talking about human beings alone. We are also talking about corporate entities. The bank is a person. If the bank owes you money, you sue the bank, the person. You don't sue the owners of the bank, really, practically speaking. Legal object, anything that is of economic value to people. Well, when you sue the bank, the first thing I would think of that is economic value to me at living standard measure 1 to 3 is my money. This is the first thing. All the other assets, what assets? First is money. Salary is important. So, but when you move things right along, other things you will acquire. You'll buy a car, it will have a certain value, and it's your car. You'll buy a house, it's your house. You'll have children, they are your children that belong to the state. I'll explain the later stage why your children are borrowed. They live on borrowed times. Really, was the later stage. I'll explain how you do this when we do family law. But then again, your good name and a person's good name. Yo, what I was about to tell you, I was thinking, no, I didn't learn that in LLB. Yeah, that was a master's level discussion. But think of concepts like defamation of character. If I say something about you on social media now, what I say about you, your rights to your good name are important, and how the court will look at it in more detail than if I say Julius Malema is not that smart sometimes, you know. That way of saying things has become public opinion because Julius Malema is more of a public figure and you are not. If I go to the social media and say, Sipho is not that smart sometimes, it's more serious. It may even affect you getting a job because you're not smart. But with a politician, they might even get a job for not being smart. So they don't have to be smart. So it's one of those things because they are public figures. And how their issues get, of course, Julius will say, no, Mr. Pan, how dare you? And he takes me to court. Yeah. But they'll say, but Julius, you're a public figure. Didn't they say that on Twitter, which is now an X, about you 2 weeks ago? Many people in a day say Julius is not smart, even though he is smart. So he just suffers that he's Julius. So the whole concept of your dignity impaired depends on whose dignity. The pastor's dignity is more valuable than Caspar Nyovest, for example. He's a musician and he was caught drinking and driving. Who cares? He's a rap star. But the pastor was caught drinking and driving. You, Bazalwadi. It was his twin. Pastor. Yo, it was his twin, his brother from another mother. So we are lawyering away. Yeah. So hey. So law. Law is a system of rules. Really? It's an offside rule, a law. It's for the soccer people. Because it's in the rules of the game. And therefore, when they go to court, they actually argue about these things. And then they bring VAR. In rugby, they do it there and there. They stop the game and they look at the whole thing and everybody watches and everybody talks on microphones. The same with cricket. How about work? Yeah, this Labor Relations Act. Actually, when you go into your work environment, you should see a chart up the wall, that basic conditions of employment. So that's the law. Sometimes the law is not written. You don't see it written up the wall, but the law is there. These are systems of rules enforced through set of institutions to regulate human conduct. If we are left to our own demise, things will not work out. I've seen a taxi driver in the news, and this taxi driver is an Uber driver. The girls in Khayelitsha didn't pay him. And he locks the doors of the cars. He turns back the seat and starts slapping the girls around. Funimaliam. Well, the law was good up until the slapping, you know. So the thing has now changed. This guy is up for assault, if you ask me. He is right to ask for his money, but is he really right to slap people for it? So that's the law. It regulates our conduct. In as much as the girls didn't pay the Uber driver, how he conducts himself becomes a problem. legal transplantation. Legal transplantation has got something to do with the history of the law. If you are studying, you know why I'm pausing? I'm pausing because I'm hearing tea being stirred. Pass one more cup this way. Legal transplantation has got to do with the history of the law, how the law moved from one country to another and then arrive here. For you to understand legal transplantation, let me scroll down and see if I've got that concept here. I don't have the concept here. The concept you should understand next is colonialism. That when Jan van Riebeeck arrived at the Cape, they colonized South Africa, but all the other African countries were colonized, and also other countries were colonized as well. But the colonizers, when they came with the law. If it was the Dutch, they came with the Dutch law. That is why we use Dutch law. If it was the Romans, the Dutch, the British people, they would use Roman Dutch law. And that's why we actually use Roman Dutch law, because of the British people who came to the Cape and the Cape Colony and all of those. So what happened with the Roman Dutch law? Well, it's transplanted into South Africa. So our blood is British. That's why when they have the Commonwealth Games, we go and participate because we are part of the Commonwealth. Story for another day. But it brings you to a concept why legal transplantation, as you're looking at it there on your screen. So I will explain this when we discuss further, but if you're studying LLB, where do you find it? It's in a module called International Law. International law tells you how countries relate to each other. And today they've got conventions, or they've got statutes which they bind themselves to. Now that you're a South African, you enjoy that your law is on TV. You've seen South Africa take Israel to the International Crimes Court, right? If you haven't seen it, when you arrive today, please go on YouTube and say Israel versus South Africa International Crimes Court. Watch for a while, see Advocate Ngukai Toby, has got hair like yours, and then see the whole thing go and see how it went. You at least would have you don't have to watch the whole thing, but have a taste of what an international court is and what it does. I will explain that story at a later stage. Civil disputes. Now, yesterday was Tuesday, so today is Thursday. So skip one day. So we discussed this on Tuesday, right? That a person who comes to court and this person has got a divorce issue. It's a civil case. And a person who comes to court and they've got a murder issue. It's a criminal case. The person who owes you money, it's a civil case. It's you against them. The person kills someone, is them against the state, not against you. So you cannot go and say, Chuchis, I'm here to withdraw a case. Ne? You see that guy who killed my child? I forgive him. I therefore withdraw this. No, 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 no. Of course. I mean, cases like, you say, but Mr. Pala, they withdraw cases most. Like somebody says, Ungshayile, Thuli, Pongo, what? This is ungishayile uDJ, and then they go to a court in Sante. Probably they were playing deep house driving there. They play deep house to the court, and they were right to the court. Jazz happened, and the case was withdrawn. No more deep house. But I said, but really, did he beat or did he not beat her? Hi, Asas. But isn't it, Mr. Palo, you're telling us this is a crime against the state? Why don't the state continue anyway? Mara, there's a witness, most. And the very one witness we've got says it never happened. Can you see it's not being withdrawn because it's simply withdrawn because the witness is just not there. There's a Sotho proverb for this. You're also going to find it in law. It says, he who alleges must prove it. So the person who alleges that I've been assaulted and can prove this is T. And if T is not hearing deep house, is hearing jazz, she withdraws the thing. So courts must play deep house. So what then happens when there are other witnesses and other things? You see, then the situation gets different. You cannot just withdraw it. These cases are very. You remember the people with a T go to courts, eh? Tembinkosi, lodge. He's at Sundowns. We are enjoying lodge. But hey, Matota, his one could not be withdrawn because the witness insisted and the state persisted, and there was a judgment. You see? Criminal disputes, you read there my definition, but once these cases come to court, civil dispute, criminal dispute, you don't speak action procedure and application procedure when you talk criminal cases. Unless, and if you think what I'm saying next is complicated, share it and delete it and think of it later. Unless there's an interlocutory step. An interlocutory step is a step inside a step. It's like VAR. So the game plays and then they stop. They say, there's a penalty. The referee says, play. The video guy says, come. Have you seen how the referees run when they go to VAR? They've got this running action. They're out there. And this then they start watching. They watch. And then they come back. It's not how the game plays. The game doesn't usually play like that. VAR just interrupts the game so that a certain judgment can be made. And if it's a penalty, you see how that referee again runs with the hands up. They run back and they point to the spot. In this very straightforward guess, why couldn't you just point once and say, okay, it's a penalty, guys? No, he points like just straight and like attention like a soldier. Whistle in the mouth. The players run around, but it gets done. It's a penalty. That's an interlocutory step. It interrupted the game. It happens in law, that the case is going on and everything is fine. And somebody stands up and say, no. That evidence should not be brought before the court. It was not obtained in a proper manner. Are we still arguing the case? No. People now start to make applications. They start filing papers. They fly around and they come before the court and they argue only on the VAR issue of evidence, interlocutory discussions. But you will also see a lot of paperwork going on as if they were dealing with a civil case. That's when you'll see paperwork going around applications in criminal cases. Another application you'll probably find in a criminal case that doesn't really look application, it's bail applications. That's bigger bails. There is an application made, but the difference though is that affidavit gets completed, signed, instead of the notice of motions, it gets read right in front of the court. You can see I've name dropped notice of motion right now. So notice of motion is what then happens in an application procedure. In an application procedure, you notify the other guys and say, I am about to move to the court on the following terms. Of course, it's written in a more nicer way, and you don't have to cram it. In the rules of the court, you'll get a copy of the notice of motion. It's there. They've got a sample. They've got a form for you to use. At the office, talk to the lawyers. You'll hear them. They've got a a bag of tricks. They call it precedences. We all pretend we don't have, but we all have somewhere. In those bag of tricks is some sort of folder in our computers that has got other cases which were done before. So if you're looking for a notice of motion in the office, don't try and be a hero and draft one from scratch. Ask the attorney, they have it. And you'll probably change the basic things. Of course, there's a long form and a short form. That's not the discussion for the day. But just know that for me to start an application procedure, I would need a notice of motion. But the next thing, the notice of motion has got a problem. It doesn't give me the evidence. It tells me what I want from the court. It tells me this is what I will ask the court to do. Can you know that I'll approach the court in the following terms and I'll ask the court that they must close the gate to the left because your car is noisy and they must allow you to open a gate to the right and make noise to the neighbor. All these things I want, I'll put in the notice of motion. But where's the evidence that the gate is really there? Is it on the notice of motion? I can't find it there. There must be some other document that helps me with it. It's the affidavit. It gets attached to that notice of motion. So the affidavit says, I am Morekulibiana, an adult male, born at Peru, Johannesburg. And it continues and continues. I've got a right to bring this matter before the court because me and my neighbor, we live in the jurisdiction of the Honorable Court. We will later discuss what jurisdiction is. And the background of the matter, the affidavit explains the background. And my issues are, and this is the dispute, and this is what I pray for. And Exhibit 1 is attached. Exhibit 2 is attached. You see, you attach all these things in an affidavit and you file these things in court. You serve it to the other party. He will reply and another one will respond. Then all of those will be done. Once it's done, the replies and the responses, then the court says, whoo, I've had enough of your paper fight. Can you guys come to court and explain yourselves? We stand there. The other attorney stands this side. The other attorney stands this side. The one who applied usually speaks first. And when it's done, no interruptions. They don't go like, Unamanga, you are lying. How can you say that? No, shh. Let the other one lie and finish. The other one speaks and he raises issues. When he's finished telling the truth or the lie, you now stand up and say, he was misleading the court in the following terms. You explain the lie away. You know, this is not true. Here's the evidence as can be found in Annexure B3 of our response. Here is what. You explain this whole story away. And the judge or the magistrate looks at the two of you and says, you are the same height, you wear the same black gowns. And the two of you, if it's in Pretoria, he says, the two of you, you are tricksters, you do. Then he said, but which one of you is telling the truth? He's got a problem, isn't it? For him to arrive at who's telling the truth, because everybody's telling a version, he must pick the version that is probable. So he tests the probabilities. So I hear your version, lawyer A. I hear your version, lawyer B. But lawyer B's version is more probable. Therefore, on the balancing of probability, that's why you'll hear this word a lot. The attorneys in your office, they walk around and say, yeah, the balance of probability. When they say they raise their voices, they walk down the corridor. So because this sounds fancy, but all that says is there are two possible answers. But which one is it more likely to be true? That's the balance of probability. It's different though in criminal cases, and I will explain that at a later stage. In criminal cases, the court will not look at the balance of probability unless, remember the interlocutory steps that look like VAR? It's in some of those steps then the court applies balance of probabilities in some of those things. For example, when the matter must now be withdrawn from the roll, then they start discussing these things on balance of probabilities. And you start arguing, yeah, but you see, your worship, he says, no, but hey, Pala, on the balance of probabilities, yeah, who is likely to tell the truth that the matter must be postponed and must be thrown out of court? Yes. 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 It's exactly the VAR situation. In the most instances, if you're watching soccer, to make it easier for you, soccer will have a situation where he agrees with the other VAR referees that are sitting watching the screen the other side. But before he agrees, sometimes they don't just agree. There's a trial within a trial. The other ones say it is a penalty. He comes and say no, and then they talk. You see, they have a discussion, and then they also call the linesman, and they also come and they look and they have a discussion. They are having a trial within a trial, and then they reach a judgment. Sadly, the soccer players are not involved, but they reach a judgment. But in real case situations, the complainants, also get involved. You can raise an issue, especially when there's an issue of evidence. It becomes a trial within a trial. And then the court rules, yes, we will accept the evidence that Kelly Khumalo must now come and testify. Because Kelly Khumalo's lawyer would be here to say, no, she's not involved in the matter. Why must she testify? And they will defend why she must not testify. The other lawyers of the other guys will raise, but her testimony is material to exonerate my client. The state will say it's immaterial. She's not even the accused. And it becomes a trial within a trial. Then an order is made as if it was a case. And again, you see, it's a criminal case, but how Mr. Keith is now raised, how then this gets adjudicated? On balance of probabilities. Because she's not tried for any crime. It's a civil thing, really. Whether she's got a right to stay away from this trial or whether she must come and assist the court and testify. That's a civil issue. And then it becomes decided on a balance of probabilities. So that's where you only find balance of probability come into play in criminal cases on a trial within a trial. Thank you, sir. Then you get criminal cases if we have to prove that this bottle of water had poison or didn't have poison. This can be on balance of probabilities. It cannot be that, okay, let Kotato drink. If Kotato doesn't die, let Sipo drink. But on a balance of probabilities, Kotato and Sipo are very weak people. We have to test this and find poison beyond reasonable doubt. Therefore, we're going to call an expert witness who's a lab analyst who will tell us whether there was poison in the bottle. See? Beyond reasonable doubt. The lab analyst can come and say there was no poison. We say, we hear you, Mara Ish. We think there was a poison. What we think, I've said what I've said. It doesn't work like that. In a criminal case, you don't say what you say. You must prove what you say. And you must prove it beyond reasonable doubt. So you find that in criminal disputes, that's the standard of proof. This came because we wanted to explain the application procedure and we've intentionally skipped the action procedure. The application procedure, you see that there's a notice of motion and there is an affidavit. And after an affidavit, the affidavit attaches evidence immediately right there and there. But there's some times where a witness, like we just now said, an expert witness must come and testify. There's a car accident. Witnesses must come and testify. If you go on application procedure, what are you going to do? Attach them witnesses? No. unless they are SpongeBob. But you cannot attach them there. You have to bring them to court, and they stand and say, "I, Morekuribiana, stayed under oath that I'll tell the truth, but nothing but the truth." Even if it's not a criminal situation, it's a situation where there's a dispute of facts. We dispute who skipped the robot and who didn't skip the robot. We dispute whether it was raining or it was drizzling. Huge difference. We dispute whether it was a storm or it was. I'm thinking this word you don't find a lot in Gauteng. You don't get this thing happening in Gauteng. Or you have it Northwest. You should have this, huh? If you're in Northwest, you should have something called Pula ya Midupi. It rains, but it rains romantically. It's a beautiful romantic rain. It's like champagne rain. Beautiful, beautiful rain. In Venda, they have that rain. They call it wusuto. So it rains, but it rains like. Actually, in Venda, that's how it rains in most instances. It starts as mist from the mountains, and then it goes beautiful rain. It doesn't rain violent. Gauteng is violent. Here, everything is violent. Here, your driving is violent. The rain is violent. Like like guns. It rained. It's done. Gauteng. I think in Cape Town is also nice. The rain should be nice there. There's decent. In Cape Town, it should be fucking nice raining. Nice proper rain. Gauteng. Gangsters paradise kind of rain. so those are the situations in a car accident. Car accident in Venda, the evidence is very different. The issue of visibility becomes highly contested because it is visible when it rains there. In Gauteng, when it rains, yeah, visibility becomes an issue. When the plastics were flying all over the place, Gauteng. And the dustbin, it's Gauteng. It could have affected the driver's visibility. Why visibility? Visibility now tells us whether the driver is responsible or it was just an act of nature. There's nothing you could do about it, right? Have you seen old school adverts on TV when generations did not have legacy? When Achi was the mayor, when the whole country, including the president, watched TV 8 o'clock. If you don't have, you go to the neighbor's house to see Achi Moroga. Now, somewhere after 5 minutes, 10 minutes, Achi, and then there will be an advert of My Way. In that advert, the car comes and then they ask what happens. The lady says, well, the tree just jumped in front of me. So you have those situations also that the tree just jumped in front of me. That is why in action procedure, we need to have people come and explain themselves. We need to test versions. We need to cross-examine people. We need to lead evidence. Remember I said to you, divorce cases brings you to this? Exactly. In a divorce case, this is exactly what happens. It's not a criminal case, but it behaves as if it was one, if you look at it, especially if it is contested. What will then happen is one will go to the witness box, their attorney will lead them, and then you will cross-examine on certain things. Of course, if it's not contested, it goes a different way. But before you arrive at people going into court, there's paper fights that happen. The paper fights that happen in a divorce case are not notice of motions and affidavits. They don't attach pay slips there. It is summons and particulars of claim. Sheriff, inform Baba Zala that Mama Zala will be suing. Within a certain number of days, he must come, and otherwise he continues in default and what. That whole document, the summons is the smaller part of it. I know when people receive the whole thing, they say, yeah, here's the summons. Summons, the whole smaller part of it. It's called combined summons because it attaches another part, which is the particulars of claim. But the summons is the first part of it. It shows you the name of the court and all of those. Again, don't be a hero here and type one by head from scratch. In your office, there's already one typed up. Find one that's already typed up. Use the one that's already typed up. If you don't have the one that's already typed up, in your office, there's a rule book. If you cannot find it, go online and Google rules of the magistrate court. You will find, they will have it there. Rules of the superior courts, they will have it there. So they have these things inside there. Don't be a hero. I'm warning you. There's reasons why I'm warning you not to be a hero. Please, we'll discuss these reasons later because Mr. Keith here has just said to us, what is a trial within a trial? If you type this thing wrong and there's a problem, there's going to be a problem. There'll be a trial within a trial. There's going to be an exception raised. And we accept that the summons are vague and embarrassing. And then the attorney will respond, colleague, what do you know about embarrassment? Exactly, not exactly that, but something like that. So there'll be a whole argument about what is acceptable and what is not acceptable, and your client will be paying. Please don't write this at home. Follow forms, copy and paste from the rule book. Get the proper names of the court. Just check the proper citations. Don't be a hero and say, I think Rustenburg must be the magistrate court of Rustenburg held in Skirlek. No, just go and find the right thing because they've got proper citations of these things. So hear me lamenting you and action procedure because that's where normally we say to the candidate attorney, we say to the secretary, we say, because I've got a PA, I'm struggling to say the secretary, but we also say to the PAs, these guys have just seen mine come here and grab the phone and as if it's hers. So you say to them, Star, I need you to do the notice of motion. I don't even say for what, I say for the katisometer. So she goes to the office and find the secretary who would go on an online system, and the system would tell her the katisometer, and she'll do the summons and then WhatsApp it back to me and say, is it good? I check only a few things. The body, and it's a lot of English on that thing. The body of it, I'm not so worried because I know she will go and get the precedent of it from the courts and the cases we've already done and everything. It's already sorted. Imagine if she woke up one morning and said, I want to test my legal skills right now. And she starts typing all those things. No, please no. So don't be a hero. Then there is the second document that gets attached. You remember on the application procedure to apply, you needed the notice of motion, and you also need an affidavit which will attach evidence. The other document you are going to attach here, the document you're going to attach in action procedure is not an affidavit. It is particular sort claim, and that's where the exceptions come a lot. Strangely, you've listened to me talk about application procedure, and you've not heard me talk a lot about exceptions. Eh? But I'm talking to you now about action procedure, and you hear me say exception a lot. Because exactly here, that's where you get people accept to things. For example, if this is going to be a case of somebody owing money, you need to attach the letter of demand. And you need to, if there's no letter of demand per se you need to attach the contract that leads to this thing. And I know this discussion, we shouldn't be discussing it right now. I'll discuss it with you 8 months down the line. That creates the cause of action, the reason why we are going to court. If the reason why we are going to court cannot be seen from the particulars of claim, those particulars of claim are vague and embarrassing, and they should be withdrawn with costs. It's nothing less than 7,000. You get it, right? So you hear me and Star saying, Star, draft me my thing, and she brings it. And now she tries to be brave and go and draft the whole particulars of claim. Can I just look at the particulars of claim and say, well, you drafted it from the other ones that already are available in the office, not a particulars of claim? But the particulars of claim, they are like that affidavit. They are issue specific. And I know when you do road accident funds, they generally look alike, but they are very issue specific. Those accidents didn't occur at the same intersection. I've heard in court judges berate advocates and lawyers say, but why do you say this? Must you always say this? Because it looks more like lawyers and advocates will go to court with a crime and pass particulars of claim for a road accident fund. Can you just be creative? They even don't move the paragraphs. Everything is exactly the same spot. Why don't you put this matter is in this court's honorable jurisdiction as a last sentence? Why must you always put it as sentence number 4? It's a crime and pass situation. This, guys, be creative. But paralegals, don't be creative on a particular sort of claim. Leave that thing alone. Cram it, pass it as is. Take it to an attorney. It's a litigious document. Let them read it. And they say, man, you work here. You know how to do it. No, they must read it. If they say you know how to do it, say to them, okay, sharp, send me a WhatsApp that you read it and I can proceed. You get it, right? Because when this thing goes south, you know who they blame? You. And who's to fire first? You. You are easy to fire. They save face with the client. They blame it all on you. Me? Yes, I blame everything on Star. The sugar in my coffee is to study. If the sugar is study, if I'm in a bad mood, that's her. If I'm in a good mood, that's her. I blame everything on her. Thanks for having a PA. So that's going to happen to you. And accept it and learn to manage it. I will teach you later how to manage the situation. And she'll probably be an attorney one day, and she'll also have her own slave. You see, so you get the whole situation that goes that way. But whatever you want to blame as an attorney, I don't go to the legal practice council and say, well, it was Kutatso who drafted. They say, no, Kutatso is the legal assistant in your office. She's not the attorney. You are the attorney, Mr. P. So always make sure that these particulars of claim are looked at by an attorney. We spend time explaining the particulars of claim. It's about time to go smoke something, but for the other people. But then, since everybody doesn't smoke, let's go through this quickly, and we should be able to close this whole story shortly at 11 and enjoy 30 minutes on the way home. Well, matter. You're going to hear lawyers say, we are tending to that matter. Well, if they're from Eastern Cape, they're not even going to say matter, are they? Eastern Cape people, what are they going to say? We are attending to that matter. Yeah. That matter. Lawyers sound complicated when they say. They stand up straight. All that it is a case. But you're going to hear us say matter a lot. I put this definition there because I knew that I'm going to say to you, if a matter, because that's how I speak, you're also going to realize that's how you will start to speak. you'll speak less of cases and you start speaking of matters. If you're a police officer, more of cases. Treaty, think agreement, right? Handshake. Agreement by countries are called treaties. Countries agree to do certain things in a certain way. That is why when you go through that case, you are going to check on YouTube of South Africa versus Israel. The argument there is the treaties. Again, it's a discussion you will find if you are studying LLB in international law. If you're struggling with international law, I offer assistance one Saturday every month, 30 minutes, nothing less, nothing more. Yeah, give us a I'm good at that story. So if there's something that gets you wired up, if you join one of the Saturday classes before class, scream out and say, hey, page 5 of that textbook, I'm not getting, explain. I'll explain what use cogents are, why you need those use cogents, and why certain use cogents generally are peremptory. See? Complicated English. Don't try this at home. Statute is like a treaty, but treaties are international things. Statutes are more of your local law. If you're doing international law, that's how they say it. They say a statute is your municipal law and your treaty is your international law. Then you say, okay, so are you saying the Criminal Procedure Act and the Consumer Protection Act are municipal laws, Mr. Palasho? Really? If your eyes are only limited to South Africa and they've never seen Zambia, yeah, they are not municipal laws, because you are thinking like this. You are thinking country, province, municipality. The municipality they are talking about in international law is not municipality as in municipality of Madibe or municipalities of Tshwane or KwaKuka. They are talking about South Africa. So when they look at South Africa, they see it as a municipality. It should make sense, né? Because the world is big. I mean, they should be thinking continent, Asia, Africa, Europe, Pacific, the municipality, France. So we're not much taking you into international law, but something interesting that will interest you if you're doing international law. Let's throw you a nugget. You don't go to the international courts before you exhaust all remedies in your municipal law, which means you must go to the South African Constitutional Court. Thereafter, you can go to an international court. And interestingly, you also must first go to your African one, the AOU ones, and before you even go to the bigger ones, if your issue is related to how your country, your government is treating you. Things like an ID. If they deny you to have an ID because your mother is Zimbabwean and your father is Ugandan and they do not have passports, do we export you? Do you export people? What do they call them? Deport them. Yeah. Maybe we should export you. They should deport them. And then if we deport you to what country? We have a client like that. We were dealing with an issue. What we ended up solving is we went to a embassy and the embassy helped the client to get his country's ID and they will later get him a passport. He doesn't have to go there. Isn't it when you are in the embassy or in another country? And they're helping him to do all those things. It ended well for us because we talked to Department of Home Affairs. They said, no, unfortunately, the South African system can't help. Try that country's system. We work with that country system. And they're gracious enough to help. Interestingly, African countries are very nice. You walk into Zimbabwe, they offer you an ID now. Say, South African, do you want an ID? I said, no, thanks. You will pay at Victoria Falls. Yeah, if you had your Zim ID now, you'll walk in. No thanks, bros. Ish, right, bakoma, right, bamdara. And then I don't get the ID from bamdara. Okay, so you moved to treaty, you went to statute. Why did you jump bilateral though? You jumped bilateral because you wanted to see the difference between a treaty and a statute. Because the other one is international, the other one is local. But bilateral agreements is an agreement between two parties. And in most instances, when they talk bilateral agreements, they talk agreements between two countries, South Africa and Zimbabwe. When you go to Zimbabwe, you don't have to produce a visa to go to Zimbabwe. You just need to produce your passport and you go into Zimbabwe. I don't recommend using the base breed border. If you've got the resources, go to Zambia. When you're in Zambia, get into a taxi and go to the Zimbabwean border. Your crossing will be tops 30 minutes. And the smiles you'll receive while you do it. It's nice to be a South African. I'm telling you, you must travel to realize that, hey, South Africans, you are loved in the world. So you might as well start loving your neighbors because in their countries, hey, they treat you nice. When you arrive in Zambia, they give you nshima and fish. They treat you very nice because you are a South African. And you must now see how they will treat a guy from France who tries to cross from Zambia into Zimbabwe. Yo, he's a tourist and a foreigner. But you're a South African, you're not a foreigner. You cross and you come back because you're a South African. Very nice. Then let's talk jurisdiction. Jurisdiction is the area which a court will cover. If you are in Rustenburg Magistrate Court, it will deal with issues that are in Rustenburg and no more. Otherwise, the two of you agree to the jurisdiction of the court. Is a story of another day. You don't have to worry about it. The jurisdiction of the court, the bigger courts, cover a wider space. If you are in Johannesburg, you can sue somebody for 500,000, 600,000, 800,000 in the Pretoria High Court. You say, really? Why? Because the Pretoria one and the Johannesburg one, they've got something called concurrent jurisdiction. What does that mean? That court and this court can listen to almost the same cause because trade between Johannesburg and Pretoria, if you've not been here, for us to travel from our city to another city, which is about 70 kilometers about, it takes us the same time it is to travel from Pretoria to Polokwane, which is actually in another province. Generally I was thinking Devon Maritzburg, but no, even Devon Maritzburg is closer, a little bit further. Why? They have cars, these Southern people. Then there'll be an accident. Then there'll be a traffic jam. Then there'll be people looking at the accident. Then there'll be all of this. Then you'll spend another 1 hour, 30 minutes on something that you should have traveled for like 45 minutes. Perhaps that's why we have concurrent jurisdiction. Because we are more like the same city. People in Joburg work in Pretoria, people in Pretoria work in Joburg, and we do business just like that, as if it's one city separated by a highway. And no more e-tolls. Yes, we'll drive away. I hope they give me a refund for those e-tags of mine. It's, hey, I thought. But jurisdiction is more than Johannesburg and Pretoria. You've heard me do like an auction. I said 500,000, 600,000, because my head is saying, what is the jurisdiction of the High Court anyway? These courts also speak jurisdiction on the amount of money which the court can deal with. I presume if it's a bigger amount of money, the issues are more complicated. Hence, they go to the high courts. Small amounts of money will go to your regional courts. And the regional courts, if it's a little bit further smaller, it will now go to your magistrate courts. It's further smaller into your small claims courts. Further smaller, if it's in Venda, it will go to Musangweni, and people don't understand here. Then we fight. Whoever wins the case is done. Case closed. So that's the situation. Jurisdiction has to do with one, geography, right? So you've noted this in your notes. It's got to do with geography. Two, has got to do with money. The jurisdiction is written in money. So you're going to go online, Google the jurisdiction of each court. You will see, you will probably get a government gazette. And next time we meet, even if I forget, remind me and say, hey, Mr. Para, the jurisdiction of the magistrate court is this much, of the regional court is this much, of the high court is this much. Interestingly, you walk into a magistrate court, right? You just walked into a regional court. They literally sit at the same place. Very interesting. But in some communities, they've got a smaller courts that are strictly magistrate courts. They don't have regional courts. But you go into big cities, you come to Pretoria, it's exactly the same place. Same courtesies, actually same magistrate. So same thing. It's just that it's just academic. Your issue is magistratable, and yours is regionable. But you also see if it's regional courts, the level of discussions a little bit higher. The attorneys that come there, a little bit sophisticated people. The advocates would come in suits. They wouldn't wear gowns in most instances. The discussions get a little bit complicated, and the things that get dealt with there, it's more complicated. That is why bail applications of certain schedules get dealt in those courts. Bail application of smaller issues, they get dealt in the magistrate courts. So the jurisdiction has got to do with geography. It's got to do with money. But we said the bail most. What is bail? Criminal matters. The criminal matters types also influence the jurisdiction of the court. Certain crimes can be done in a smaller court, but certain crimes cannot be done in a smaller court. Which ones can be done where? When you're going to look at this government gazette, go look at it, but also Google something or check something for me. The Criminal Procedure Act, look at the schedule of crimes. It will tell you what schedule, schedule 6, schedule 5, schedule 2, and then come and have this discussion next time we meet on what court will a certain. You see, at least I already told you what matter is. A certain matter can be done. Because my head is saying, don't say matter, don't say matter. So a certain matter can be done. Now we are free to talk about it. Interesting, every criminal matter arrives at the lower courts. When it gets bigger, it gets removed and go into the high courts. But most of your bail applications and bail issues, you will hear them at the lower courts, either the regional courts or the magistrate courts. But it's not always that that case will remain there. It's likely to leave and go to a bigger court. Well, I'll invite you for a ride on one of those I'm doing so that you can see it goes here. But later you look at me and say, yo, Mr. Pala, this one is supposed to go to the high court. Yes, to ultimately go to the high court, but the argument gardening happens at the lower courts. And then we do a lot of housekeeping there. Once the housekeeping is done, then the matter gets moved. Well, you see, I've written matter at the top just to say an issue. It's not always that a matter is a legal matter. Sometimes it's just a matter. Wow, the moment it reaches an attorney, it is a legal matter. But think of this. If you're administrating a trust and you want to meet the children of the deceased who are on a trust, and these children now, you must assist them to get money to pay school fees. They must go to a school, choose a school, and bring you the brochures of the school they've chosen. You're like the dead. It's not really a litigious matter, the lawyers will call it. A litigious matter is a matter that involves litigation. It goes to court. So that's why they use the word litigious from litigation. So most legal matters are litigious, they'll go litigation, but it's not all legal matters that will go litigation. Some of these legal matters, they also dial down to babysitting. What school you must go to? Hey, brah, choose one. But right now, that young person is looking at you like you're the only father I've got, and you do parenting right now. It's a matter, but not really to the extent of a legal matter where there's a dispute, there's a case, there's issues to be dealt with, there's facts to be dealt with. Well, all the teachers I loved in my life were the teachers who let me go home early. So since I had the love for such teachers, yeah, I think I should return the favor to everybody on earth. There should be peace on earth. When we are tired of talk, we must go home. So, but before we go home, we should go home to do certain things. So let's see. What are the things we're going to do? In our book, we said we're going to check what? Schedules, right? And what else? We're going to watch the Israel versus, if we are fast forward to where the South African lawyers are presenting their case. It's fascinating. It's beautiful. And look at the poise. It will help you also to see the professional conduct we're talking about. We'll do it in the other book, but just look at the poise. Look at how they carry themselves. What you're looking at, the people presenting, the lawyers presenting those things, is the top cream de la cream of law. It's not the beginner in law. Those are silks, top of the range. The judges you are looking at there, they're the Bentley of judges, top of the range. But you must see how they talk, the poise, the simplicity. I wanted to say decorum, the respect, the confidence, the ease at which they do it. And of course, the argument. And see how the argument is nicely packed. You can look at an argument. I don't want to pick any of them. They made nice arguments, but you can look at the argument by Advocate Mugai Toby, how he presented evidence. No drama, he presented evidence. And then look at the lady who was doing closing. I think she spoke first in French. She shouldn't be, I don't think she's South African. The one who did the last closing argument for us. She's good. So look at those and just enjoy the beauty of law at its highest can ever get. Anyway, online, you can unmute yourself and talk. Please, you don't have to suffer the muting. Oh, if I can unmute all. Unmute yourself and say something, ask questions. You can also type on the chat box if you don't want to talk. Yeah, you can do it like this. You see, I just typed. You can ask a question. So you can ask a question there. I'll answer you. If something you want to find out, something you need to know. While you're thinking of a question, 11 o'clock we are going. So once you're thinking of a question, I'm doing the next 10 minutes. Kodat, is there something we need to say which we didn't say at orientation? Madeline, if there's something we didn't say at orientation which you can type on the chat. Nokwazi, yes.
Yes, I'm here. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to attend this course and I'm ready to learn as much as possible.
So Chile Mfundi. Thank you, Nokwazi, man.
Morning,
Paleho.
Mr. Pala, morning.
Morning.
Before you attend to anybody else, may I?
Yes. Yes, please.
Okay, morning all. This is Merlin. Just a friendly reminder for all attending online. Please don't forget to announce yourself present with your name and surname. Otherwise, the attendance register will have a lot of loopholes. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the, I think, 7 minutes that's left.
Yeah, I think Katleho has already said his yeah, and we talked to Nokwazi. Anybody else akona? Ukona? Akona is like me, he's got a PA, so he asked the PA to respond. Akona. Ah.
For him.
Okay. I thought you said your PA to respond. Akona, I can look. Bulelani? Are you there? Kunjani kuwe?
Hello, sir. I'm here. Diyaphila kunjani?
Ndiyaphila. And Tamia, you're here?
Yes, I'm here.
Tamia, I've got PAs available if you want. I can give you one. Mujalifa, you're in Limpopo or what? Or your name is just from Limpopo?
Hi, sir. I'm here. Yes, I'm from Limpopo.
Yes. You're my people. Okuhle? Ukhona?
Hello, everyone. I'm here, sir.
Okay. Akhona, you want to say something?
No, I just wanted to confirm what's in Aminkon.
Ndiyakubona, mfondini, ndiyakubona.
Okay.
The spy camera, look, I'm watching you.
Okay.
And I've spoken to Nokwazi, yes? And anybody else I didn't mention? Well, for the next 5 minutes, let's do those basic things and remember to have fun. Law is not supposed to be complicated. No, if you're looking for some serious, painful lawyers, I'm not one of them. so you have to have fun. It's a very complicated profession. You might as well choose one of the two things. Play sport, have fun, enjoy life. Drink whiskey and don't know where that journey ends. But that's one of those two things. Yeah, so choose your weapon, right? So I think sports will work for me, and I'll have fun, and I laugh because kuning, the things we go through as lawyers and paralegals. I guys know. So you need to enjoy yourselves. You can start logging off if there's nothing else for you to look at. Remember to check the cases, go on YouTube. And if there's any trial that's going on that I need us to watch at some point, I'll tell you to check it. It's best to look at the recorded ones. We can fast forward and go back. And the ones that I speak badly on, I will conceal and not tell you to Google. So that you don't see me presenting the course at the case. So next time we come, let's look at study unit 1 more into detail. And now that you are aware of the concepts and what they are, we'll be able to do that. Thank you very much. Katleho. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Matima. Thanks, Tamia. See you guys on Tuesday. You'll see you on Tuesday. And on Saturday, they are having a session for those people who are doing part-time and distance learning. You don't have to attend that session. I'm going to repeat almost the same things on that session. So I'll see you on Tuesday. Enjoy. Thanks for coming. And the guys in the class, thanks for coming. They're sitting like sophisticated people around the boardroom. You should see them. They're in some fancy studio. Wow. Goodbye.
Thank you.